No idea what's causing that. So weird. Oh well, guess. What the fuck? Pain. Obvious hates me. Oh my god. Fuck, did that go through my mic? Emergency fucking alert. Went through my phone, it was so loud. So loud.
Roden family would become the scene of one of the most chilling and heartbreaking massacres Ohio has ever known.
I just might tell you this is just the most bizarre story I've ever seen in being involved in law
Alright, time
enforcement.
to work.
On the night of April 21st into the early hours of the 22nd, 8 members of the Roden family were executed in their bed. But what made this tragedy even more chilling was the fact that 3 innocent children, all under the age of 3, were mysteriously spared. So, who could commit such an unspeakable act, and why?
Don't go away from a mother. I think about it day and night. I lose a lot of sleep over it.
What happened inside those 3 houses would uncover a tangled web of secrets, betrayal, and a motive that no one, and I mean no one, ever saw coming.
Man, gotta tell me what's going on. There's blood all over the house. Okay. My brother-in-law's in the bedroom and looks like someone has beat the hell out of him. Okay. There's blood all over the front room. Ma'am, can you tell me what county that's in? Is it White County? It's White County? Yes, and they drug him in the bedroom. Okay, I need you to get out of the house. Did you drive over there? Yes, I did. Okay. First I'm in there, looks like they're dead. You think they're both dead? I think they're both dead. Looks like someone has beat the fuck out of them. Okay. Is there anybody else in the house? Not that I know of.
The woman reporting the incident was Bobby Jo Manley, the sister of one of the victims. On the morning of April 22nd, she arrived at the family farm to feed the animals, a chore that had been part of her regular routine. But what she walked into that morning would change her life forever. As she stepped inside one of the 3 homes on the property, she immediately sensed something was horribly wrong. The house was eerily silent, far too silent for a family that usually filled it with life. Bobby Jo, along with her brother James, began to search the house, calling out to see if anyone was around. What they found next would be etched in their minds forever. In the living room, Christopher Roden Sr., the 40-year-old patriarch of the family, lay lifeless. His body was riddled with 9 gunshot wounds, each fired from close range. 5 of the bullets had hit his face and head, while another 3 struck his torso, and a single shot pierced his arm, as if he'd tried to fend off the attack in his sleep. This was the only sign of resistance from anyone in the house. Nearby, in a different room, they found Gary Roden, Christopher's 38-year-old cousin. Gary had been shot twice in the head, with a 3rd shot fired so close to his temple it left a muzzle stamp. Unlike Christopher, there were no signs of struggle, and it was believed that Gary had been asleep when the killer or killers struck. The brutality of the scene left Bobby Jo and James in shock, struggling to comprehend the horror before them. Without wasting another moment, Bobby Jo dialed 911, her voice trembling with fear as she reported the unimaginable violence she had just discovered. In the next house, the scene was equally horrific. Clarence Frankie Roden, Chris's eldest son, and his fiancée Hannah Hazel Gilley were found murdered in their bed. Their 4-month-old baby was miraculously unharmed, lying peacefully between them. However, their 3-year-old child had been found asleep on the floor, unaware of the nightmare unfolding around them. Frankie had been shot 3 times in the head and face, while Hannah had been shot through the eye and then 4 more times. It was a cold, brutal execution. Manley then rushed to the 3rd home, that of his sister Dana Roden, Chris Sr.'s ex-wife, where she lived with their 16-year-old son, Chris Jr., and their 19-year-old daughter, Hannah. Hannah had just given birth to her 2nd child only 4 days before. Dana's fate was just as horrifying. She had been shot 5 times in the head, including point-blank shots through her temple and another upward shot under her chin. In a nearby room, Chris Jr. had been shot twice through the top of his head, and in the final room, Hannah Roden was found dead from 2 fatal gunshots to the head. But in a chilling twist, Hannah's newborn was unharmed, still attempting to nurse from her mother's lifeless breast. Fortunately, Hannah's 2-year-old daughter, Sophia, had been staying with her father and had been spared the horror of that night. As police and first responders flooded the scene, the community began to gather in shock, trying to process the brutal killings. But the horror didn't stop there. Donald Stone, a cousin of Chris Roden Sr., began to worry about another family member, Kenneth Roden, who lived just a few miles down the road. He called Kenneth's phone repeatedly, but when there was no answer, Stone and two friends decided to go check on him. They found his house unlocked and, as they entered, they discovered Kenneth Roden's body. He had been murdered too, with a single gunshot wound through his eye, fired at close range. 8 members of the same family were now dead, each victim found within their own home. It was a massacre so brutal, yet the investigation was clouded by one terrifying reality. There was almost no trace of who had committed the crime. There were no shell casings, no gunshots heard, and shockingly, 2 pit bulls known for being fiercely protective didn't even bark that night. The dogs, who usually growled at anyone they didn't recognize, stood silent, adding a strange layer of mystery to the scene. Even more chilling, not a single cell phone was found among the victims, and there were no signs of theft. It was as though the phones had been deliberately taken, possibly to remove evidence. This eerie absence suggested that the killers might have planned their attack meticulously, eliminating any chance for the victims to alert anyone. The sheer scale of the massacre, combined with the victims' inability to defend themselves, hinted at multiple assailants. But who could have carried out such a heinous act? As forensic experts from the County Sheriff's Department and the Ohio Bureau of Criminal Investigation sifted through the scene for clues, the investigation struggled to keep up with the flood of rumors and the silent code that runs through the tight-knit community. As families buried their dead in the shadowed hills of Appalachian Ohio, the real question loomed: what could have sparked such a brutal killing spree? The Roden family patriarch, Chris Roden Sr., and his brother Kenneth were known for having brushes with the law. Their reputation had been tarnished further by the discovery of a pot-growing operation near Kenneth's barn and the unsettling hint of a cockfighting ring at the family compound. These findings sparked suspicion that criminal activity had led to their deaths. Rumors swirled, pointing to potential ties with a Mexican drug cartel, whose brutal methods were notorious, but those killings usually occurred much farther south. Pike County had seen a few small-scale drug busts linked to cartels, but the idea that the Rodens' operation could be connected to something larger was unsettling. Other whispers suggested the family had ties to the Cornbread Mafia, an infamous drug operation that spanned the central Appalachian Mountains. Known for running pill mills and meth labs, this group made use of the region's isolated hollows, with easy access to state lines to move materials. While the Cornbread Mafia was known for violence, nothing like this mass slaughter had ever been linked to them. Law enforcement had to consider the possibility that this notorious group had evolved, taking its brutal tactics into new, dangerous territory. Hundreds of tips flooded in, and rewards were offered in the hopes of finding answers, but the truth remained elusive. Investigators were stuck in a web of dead ends. Each promising lead turned to dust. Desperate for answers, they seized the evidence from the Roden property, vehicles, mobile homes, anything that might hold a clue, and stored it, hoping the next piece of the puzzle would surface. Meanwhile, the fate of the 3 children left behind lingered, especially 2-year-old Sophia, who had been with her father and other relatives the night of the killings. Little did anyone know at the time, this child would become the key to unlocking the entire mystery. What initially seemed like a professional hit carried out by organized crime was, in reality, something far more personal, a deep-rooted feud between 2 families, with young Sophia at the heart of it all. Billy Wagner and Chris Roden Sr. had a history, one that ran deep in the underbelly of their community. These 2 men had likely crossed paths more than once, whether as partners or rivals in crime. The local gossip ran rampant, with whispers of their ties to criminal activity. But it wasn't just the men whose lives were intertwined. Billy's son Jake and Chris's daughter Hannah had a turbulent relationship that had lasted years. Since Hannah was just 13, their love affair had blossomed, and from it came the child that would set everything into motion, Sophia. In the
Thank you for
wake
the
of the massacre,
redeems.
Billy Wagner appeared to put on a show of concern for Sophia's well-being, going as far as filing for custody of the child. What raised red flags, however, was the timing. The custody documents were allegedly signed by Hannah herself, giving Billy sole custody if anything were to happen to her. Investigators couldn't ignore how conveniently the Wagners seemed to have prepared for this very moment. But this was only the beginning. After the murders, the Wagners seemingly vanished from Pike County. They packed up and moved to Alaska, as far away from the violent crime scene as they could get. The town of Pike County, still reeling from the horror, slowly returned to its routine, and the Wagners were almost forgotten, until they resurfaced about a year later. When they returned, it wasn't just Jake Wagner and his family. It was a new wife for Jake, and the entire family seemed to reintegrate smoothly into the community. Now everything seemed normal, but something felt off. The Wagners, who had once been known for their isolation and odd behaviors, were suddenly playing the role of model citizens, all working at a local trucking company. This was a far cry from their usual pattern. Jake and George, the Wagner brothers, had grown up in a family that kept everything close to the chest. They were homeschooled, isolated from others, and their parents, Billy and Angela, kept a tight grip on every decision the family made. Even after the divorce, the family unit remained unbreakable, Angela living just down the road, but still part of the tightly controlled family system. As each family member entered new relationships, the control of the Wagners never loosened. When George married, his wife was absorbed into their world, and when Jake married, it was clear that she would be no exception to the suffocating family dynamic. What looked like a close-knit family was actually a manipulative, controlling unit that bound each member in a web of secrecy. Shortly after the Wagner family returned to Pike County from their time in Alaska, something strange happened that set off alarm bells. The two women, Jake's new wife and his mother, suddenly bolted. The reasons they fled, what they told the police, and the whispers shared with family members remain shrouded in mystery. But, as if on cue, the investigation into the Roden family massacre took an unexpected turn, focusing on the Wagner family. The illusion of friendship and their so-called concern for Sophia crumbled, and a darker truth began
So
to
cute,
surface.
thank you.
One of illicit love, jealousy, and a sinister conspiracy. What unfolded was no fairy tale. It was a calculated tale of manipulation and murder, all orchestrated to take permanent custody of young Sophia. The prosecution, led by Assistant Attorney General Angela Canopa, began pulling back the layers of a story that had been brewing in the shadows. It all started with a love story, or more accurately, a dangerous obsession. At just 13 years old, Hannah Mae Roden was at the Pike County Fairgrounds when she met Jake Wagner, almost 18 at the time. What began as innocent curiosity over bunnies quickly spiraled into something far darker. Despite their age difference, Jake and Hannah began a relationship. Incredibly, Chris Roden Sr.,
this is a
Hannah's
different
father,
channel.
approved,
I've never
even
watched
though
a
the
video
age
from
gap
them,
and the
I
circumstances
think,
raised major red flags.
but it was
But
the first
Chris,
thing that
who
popped
knew
up.
Billy Wagner, Jake's father, gave his permission,
It's
albeit
called
with
Into
conditions.
the Deep
Hannah wasn't
True
allowed
Crime.
to be alone with Jake. A chaperone had to accompany her on every outing. But this wasn't just a romantic fling. This was a relationship fueled by a growing jealousy, and soon the cracks began to show.
It's always interesting.
As
Yeah,
time
I'm trying
passed,
to lock in
Hannah
at
and
work
Jake's
so I
relationship
don't
soured.
work too long.
After an alleged incident where Jake choked Hannah, she fled to her father, saying she couldn't handle the toxic environment. Not just from Jake, but from the entire Wagner family, who had their claws in every aspect of her life. Then, things took a darker turn. Hannah, in a moment of desperation, made a public statement on social media. She would never give her child up to Jake, even if it cost her life.
It's a little
What
different
she
than
didn't
trying new
know was
things.
that her private post was being monitored by Jake and his mother, Angela Wagner. They
Not
had
really,
hacked into
but
her
I think it's
Facebook account,
just
and
comes
that
from
message became a ticking
drawing
time
more,
bomb
I
that
guess.
set the families on a tragic course toward violence. Jake was not only furious about the breakup, but he was also deeply resentful of the people who had been involved in Hannah and Sophia's life. His anger was reaching a boiling point. During this period, Hannah began seeing someone new, Charlie Gilly, the brother of her sister-in-law. Their brief relationship ended with yet another pregnancy, and this was the breaking point for Jake. But it wasn't just his anger. It was the Wagner family's chilling calculation that began to take shape. Months before the birth of Hannah's second child, the Wagners had gathered around a table to discuss a devastating plan. This wasn't a spur-of-the-moment decision. It had been thought out and planned meticulously. Billy Wagner, Jake's father, presented a chilling proposal. They would not only remove Hannah from the picture, but anyone else who had a claim to Sophia. The Wagner family, as they often did, voted on the plan, deciding who would be eliminated and how they would proceed. The ultimate goal was clear: to ensure that no one could challenge their claim to Sophia, and that the custody of the child would fall into their hands, no matter the cost. With a tragic finality, they decided that 7 people had to die, and that no one would be left to stand in their way. The killings would be carried out, and once they were done, they would file legal motions to gain custody of Sophia. The Wagner family believed that after their calculated violence, no one would dare challenge them again. They began by making seemingly innocent purchases, but each item had a purpose in their
Asking because I
twisted
love
plan.
it too.
They started by buying athletic
Yeah,
shoes
I mean, there
from a
probably
local
is some
Walmart,
changes,
but these
but
weren't
it's like
just any shoes.
unintentional,
They
I
were the wrong sizes
guess.
for the Wagner sons,
But I
and
think
were
it just
brand new,
comes from like
untouched by
drawing a
anyone's
lot.
feet. These shoes were carefully chosen for the night of the murders, so the footprints they left behind would be harder to trace to them. The
Hi,
Wagners were
Jojo.
meticulous, and this was just
Are
the
you
beginning
today?
of their
I'm
careful
chilling.
preparations.
Just
Along
work,
with the shoes, they
UFT,
secured
more
handguns,
work.
specifically .22 caliber
How about
long
you?
rifles and semi-automatic pistols. These were quieter than larger calibers and had less recoil, making them perfect for close-range, covert killings. But they didn't stop there. The Wagners also acquired suppressors, which wouldn't completely silence the gunshots, but would reduce the noise to a muffled sound, like a cough, so that no one outside of the trailers could hear the gunfire. They also bought brass catchers, little pouches attached to the pistols to catch the spent shells, ensuring they didn't leave behind any physical evidence. In the months leading up to the murders, the Wagners practiced relentlessly. Jake and his brother spent hours shooting in a secluded wooded area behind their property. Bullets were found lodged in the trees, and remnants of a burned-out homemade suppressor were recovered during the
Watching it,
investigation.
it's called The
confirming
Worst
their
Family
extensive
Massacre
practice.
in
They were
Ohio's
preparing for the
history.
moment when they would carry out the unimaginable. But their preparation didn't stop at weapons. They also purchased a cell phone jamming device, which they planned to use to ensure that no one could call for help during the killings. As if this wasn't enough, they went as far as dyeing their hair to alter their appearances and avoid being identified. Meanwhile, Angela Wagner, the mother, was busy forging crucial documents. She created fake papers that showed Hannah Roden had signed a statement declaring that if something happened to her, custody of her daughter Sophia would go to Jake and his family. These documents were meant to be revealed after the murders in an attempt to make it seem as though the Wagners were just concerned relatives who were trying to step in for the good of the child, hoping that no one would question the timing or the circumstances of the custody arrangement. As the Wagners prepared, they also began staking out the Roden family's homes. They knew the routine of every person, when they came home, when they left, how late they stayed up, and whether anyone visited after dark. They learned everything they needed to know. The Wagners were ready. The time had come. The night of the murders, right after Hannah Roden gave birth to her second child, the Wagners set their plan into motion. While Hannah recovered at home with her newborn, Sophia was sent to stay with the Wagners for a couple of nights. This was the opening they needed. The Wagners drove to the Roden family property, which consisted of 3 trailers and several outbuildings. They were familiar with the layout and the people, and they knew exactly what to do. Billy Wagner, the father, entered Chris Roden Sr.'s home under the guise of discussing a potential drug deal. Meanwhile, Jake and his brother George hid in the pickup truck, waiting. Once inside, Billy moved with ruthless efficiency, gaining the trust of his victim and setting the stage for what would follow. The Wagners moved from home to home, killing everyone in their path, adults and teenagers alike.
Whenever he went,
But they
they
left
should
the
die.
young
Dude,
children,
my
including the
thing
newborn
actually
baby,
died like crazy
unharmed,
though.
just as they had planned.
My
They carried
PC,
out the murders
I
with
think,
brutal
is near its
precision,
end.
making sure that no one would survive to testify against them.
Accepting
And then,
cons? Yeah,
like
I
shadows in the
am.
night,
Except,
they disappeared. Their next move was to dispose of any evidence that could link them to the
you will
killings.
be on like
The truck
wait
was
list, I
abandoned,
guess.
their clothes and shoes were discarded, and the weapons, the most damning evidence, were carefully hidden. In an ingenious twist, the Wagners sent their cousin, a fisherman, a gruesome gift. The guns, shell casings, and suppressor remnants were placed in gallon buckets filled with wet cement and turned into boat anchors. The anchors were then dropped into a local lake, where they would
Waitlist
sink
or
to
to
the
us,
bottom,
but our
far
waitlist
from anyone's
that.
reach.
That's crazy.
The Wagners went to great lengths to ensure that they would never be caught. They even maintained a public facade of grief-stricken, shocked family members who were devastated by the tragedy. They pretended to be innocent, heartbroken individuals, even as they returned to Ohio after their time in Alaska. But the cracks in their perfect lie began to show. Perhaps it was the two women who left the family, or maybe someone overheard a conversation at work. Whatever it was, law enforcement began to piece the puzzle together. It wouldn't be long before the Wagners' carefully crafted world of deceit would come crumbling down. Their calculated and cold-blooded plan, designed to erase any trace of evidence, would eventually unravel, leading them straight to the heart of their gruesome crimes. The authorities had hidden listening devices inside the work trucks used by the family. They also started tapping their phones, trying to gather every scrap of evidence they could. The Wagners were questioned, but their involvement with the Roden family remained a mystery to the public. The investigators kept working tirelessly, piecing together every clue until they were finally able to charge them with the gruesome murders.
We promised that the day would come when arrests would be made in the Pike County massacres. Today is that day. George Billy Wagner III, his wife Angela Wagner, and their sons, George Wagner IV and Edward Jake Wagner.
As the investigation progressed, the Wagners tried to maintain their innocence. But 2 years after being locked up, the pressure finally got to Jake. Under the weight of the silence and the months of imprisonment, he cracked. Jake admitted to everything, confessing to all 23 charges against him. In exchange for the death penalty being taken off the table for him and his family, he agreed to tell everything. Jake revealed chilling details about the murders. He said that he personally pulled the trigger on 5 of the killings, leaving the remaining 3 deaths for his father and brother. Jake also admitted that while his mother didn't take part in the killings, she was deeply involved in the conspiracy, the cover-up, and even the forgery of custody documents to ensure they would get the child. The investigation uncovered key evidence that helped confirm Jake's story. Text messages from the night of the killings aligned with the details he gave about the meeting between Billy Wagner and Chris Roden. Weapons hidden in cement anchors, bullets matching those found in the bodies, and evidence of homemade suppressors were recovered from various locations, including the Wagners' property. They also found remnants of burned-out suppressors in the woods, the same type of suppressors used during the killings. This new information led to major breakthroughs in the case, with the Wagners now facing serious consequences. Jake's sentencing brought a sense of resolution, as he was sentenced to life in prison with the possibility of parole in 32 years, though this decision was met with mixed reactions. His confession was key to the closure of this chapter, though his actions remain unforgivable for the families who suffered from this horrific crime. His mother, Angela Wagner, was also sentenced to 30 years in prison for her role in the conspiracy, despite not being directly involved in the killings. Her involvement in the plot to murder the Roden family and the subsequent cover-up was central to her conviction. The sentencing hearing was emotionally charged, with survivors of the victims calling out the Wagners for their cruelty. Meanwhile, George Wagner IV, who had decided to go to trial instead of cooperating, received a harsher sentence, 8 consecutive life terms without the possibility of parole. His refusal to admit guilt and his choice to face a trial made him ineligible for the same considerations that Jake received. The case against the Wagner family is now nearing its final stages, with only George Billy Wagner III left to stand trial. His role as the patriarch of the Wagner family makes his trial one of the most anticipated moments in this lengthy and devastating case. Now imagine being one of the surviving children in the Roden family, growing up and one day learning that nearly your entire family was wiped out in one horrifying night, all over a custody dispute. Imagine carrying that truth for the rest of your life. With that weight on your shoulders, you might feel that no punishment could ever truly measure up. And as justice slowly takes shape, with more members of the Wagner family being held accountable, the people of Pike County, and especially the survivors, are left clinging to the hope that this painful chapter is finally coming to an end. But let's talk. What do you think truly sparked law enforcement to zero in on the Wagners? Was it the inconsistencies, the failed alibis, or maybe something they couldn't hide no matter how much they tried? And do you believe the death penalty should have stayed on the table for a crime this brutal? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you've made it this far, be sure to check out this next video. I think you'll enjoy it. Thank you once again for watching.
Yeah. Upgrade your PC. Yeah. Soon, one day. One day I will. Hold it. Kind of interesting one.
Pleasant Grove Police.
I just found something in my garage. It's been wrapped up in a plastic bag and it stinks.
Okay, what is it?
It's a little baby.
Pleasant Grove Police received this chilling 911 call. Upon arrival, they met Darren West, who was visibly shaken after speaking with his wife, Megan Huntsman, about the grim discoveries in his garage.
And I just said, what the hell is this? What have you done? I always found something. She goes, oh, you did? Get that for Don't talk, please. Don't talk, please. I'm gonna get it.
As they stepped into the garage, they had no idea the horrors that awaited them inside.
I remember there being some sort of form of tape. As we got deeper into that box, we'd find a second child.
There could be more. Like I said, I can't remember a damn thing.
How many do you think there would be?
Holy what is going on?
On April 12th, 2014, Darren had just returned home after serving time in prison for drug charges, only to stumble upon a horrifying scene in his garage and made this disturbing 911 call.
Pleasant Grove Police.
Oh, yes, ma'am. Can I
Yeah, my friend also likes Boulder Gate. Boulder's Gate.
My name's Darren West. I just found something in my garage. I think it's a miscarriage.
Can you be more specific? What do you mean by a
One day,
miscarriage
one
you
day.
found?
I have no idea. Just please send an officer up here.
It sounds like you may need medical.
It's been wrapped up in a plastic bag and it stinks.
Okay, what is it?
It's a little baby.
When police arrived at Pleasant Grove, Utah, they saw the garage door wide open, and Darren stood outside with his family, who had come to help him move in. Just one look at him, and the officers knew they were in for something dreadful.
Who lives here?
Us three.
1, 2, 3.
It's a double house. The basement and the upstairs are two different.
My 2 daughters live here. See, we've been cleaning the garage.
Okay.
And it, got a 48-hour pass, and I have...
Here. We went on home and find down. He's in a halfway house. You've been cleaning out the garage.
I'm trying to get, because I've been gone for so long. And
Anyway, there was a box over there. It was all wrapped up. And he says, what is this?
The box in question was an ordinary-looking fruit box, sitting just outside the garage, and its exterior was tightly sealed with electrical tape. Inside, they found a bag, also wrapped in layer upon layer of duct tape, as if someone desperately wanted to keep whatever was inside, hidden forever. When the investigators finally peeled it open, what they discovered would haunt them for years to come. It was the lifeless body of a fully decomposed baby.
There were boxes from floor to ceiling on all 3 walls. There's hundreds of boxes. How are we going to get through all of these? So we contacted the medical examiner's office, and they sent out an investigator. Bewilderment, shock. I was speechless. How could you fathom something like that?
So scared.
The big obvious question is what is this child doing here? Who's the mother? Where did it come from?
The officers quickly sealed off the scene, unsure of what had truly happened. But one thing was clear. It was now a homicide investigation. They began searching the area, moving from box to box, not knowing that what they had just uncovered was just the beginning of a much darker and more
There's no way
chilling
there's
story.
more stuff.
But the question was, where was Megan? Right now, she was the only person who could hold the answers to this troubling mystery.
Let's start off with, is it your wife or is your girlfriend?
I'm still married to her, but...
Okay, so legally, according to the law, it's still your wife.
Yes, sir.
Okay, why don't you tell me what her name is?
Megan Huntsman. What happened is when I went to prison, she stuck around for 2 or 3 years and she took off.
But she is with a boyfriend now
Where is she?
in West Valley somewhere. We just had her on the phone. She said it was his.
And I just said, what the hell is this? What have you done? I always found something. She goes, oh, you did?
Get that for her.
Don't call the police. Don't call the police. I'm going to get it.
So she said it was yours. Logically, is that true?
I don't know, man. I never knew she was pregnant.
So, for the time being, the officers focused on Megan to understand about the unfolding events.
Are you able to help us understand what's going on here? It was a miscarriage.
It was like 9 years ago when he first left.
And how far into your pregnancy were you?
Like 7 months. It was born, stillborn.
How soon can you come down here? Our detectives need to ask you some follow-up questions so that we can, rule out any kind of foul play.
Okay, there was no foul play.
Okay, listen to me. I need you to stay at your residence. We're going to have a West Valley City officer come pick you up.
It wasn't just Darren who was disturbed. The neighbors had also noticed a strange, foul smell coming from the garage. As more officers arrived at the scene, they were tasked with meticulously searching every inch of the property of what was quickly becoming known as the House of Horror. Meanwhile, Megan was brought in for questioning by Detective Beckstrom. His first goal was to understand why she had hidden the baby, instead of reporting it to the authorities or seeking medical help. However, in a few moments, the story took a turn more twisted than ever.
Well, you know why we're here, what we're here to talk about. Just start at the beginning and tell me what happened.
Well, we were doing drugs a lot. That's what he was in prison for. I got pregnant right before he left, and I really didn't know because I thought it was just stress and stuff.
He went to prison in 2006?
Yeah.
How far along were you when he
Like
went?
a couple months.
Where did you have the baby?
In the house, in the bathroom.
In the house that you and Darren lived in. Describe to me what happened
Well, I was having a lot of pain that day. I didn't go to work. My kids were at school, and I went in the bathroom and just sat there and just pushed really hard. And you know, I was blue and wasn't crying, and I was by myself, and I didn't know what to do, and I couldn't get it to cry or anything.
Then what happened?
Don't drop backgrounds? Yeah, I don't drop backgrounds because I'm bad at it. I want to, but it's gonna take some time. I think I only drew like backgrounds for like probably 2 things.
Looking back.
Called the cops and told them that I had a baby and that I couldn't get to breathe and have the paramedics and stuff come.
Megan repeated the same story she had told Darren, that the baby had been a stillborn. Despite appearing visibly upset, there were many details in Megan's account that just didn't add up.
Okay, so you're on the toilet, you have the baby. You said you tried to get it to breathe. What did you do?
Well, I tried just to clean his mouth out and stuff, and I couldn't get a response at all.
Okay.
I couldn't feel a heartbeat or anything.
Okay. So you clean the baby's mouth out, try to get it to breathe, and then what?
I passed out for a little bit. I think I lost a lot of blood. And then when I just remember my kids got home from school and I just told them I wasn't feeling well. And then I cleaned myself up and I went and got a box.
And then, as far as you know, unless someone else moved it, the baby's been in the box in the garage since that first year that Darren went to prison. Okay.
We clean that garage every year.
Like simple you could. Yeah. Like I can do it.
Clean the garage?
Yeah.
And so what
But
would
like
you do to make
nothing
sure
too
that
like extreme.
Just kind of slide it.
I guess
like
the best way to put it.
And then set stuff on it and, but they knew that part was already clean and stuff.
Megan's story seemed like a justification. With her husband gone to prison, she was left overwhelmed with stress and was deeply influenced by drugs which clouded her state of mind. But the more the detective spoke with her, the more their doubts grew.
Because I was so scared, I don't know what I was thinking. I have no idea.
Do you remember if the baby was a boy or a girl? So, did anyone know that you were pregnant?
I don't show at all.
Did you tell Darren?
No,
Okay. Had you ever had any stillborn babies prior to that?
Miscarriages.
And on these miscarriages, did they all happen at home?
What happened at home?
All right. Is there anything else that you think I should have asked you that I haven't asked you?
I think so.
Is there anything else that you want me to know?
No.
And we really want the right thing for this baby. Proper burial and closure for you and for your family. Your husband went to prison, you're raising the kids on your own, and you're overwhelmed. And I can understand that. I mean, Darren just found out that he had another kid that he didn't know about. So,
I totally understand that.
what do you think proper closure looks like? Anything else?
Me going to jail.
Well, it's clear that we think you should go to jail for this, that you recognize you've done something wrong. We haven't made any decisions like that. We're still just trying to put the story together at this point.
What struck as odd was Megan's fear of going to jail if the baby was truly a stillborn. If no crime had been committed, aside from the unlawful disposal of the body, why did she carry such a heavy guilt? There was something deeper she wasn't saying, and the detective could feel it. Meanwhile, at the house, the officers pressed on with their search, which led them to another suspicious box. Inside, they uncovered a deeply disturbing scene. That was just the start.
I remember there being some sort of form of tape over it, and then as we opened it up, there's heavy padding and packaging, more plastic wrap. As we got deeper into that box, we did ultimately find a second child. I felt angry, and I remember thinking, what in the actual hell is going on?
Each box they opened carried an overpowering stench, with a strange liquid seeping through the bottom of the bags inside. The officers immediately reported it to Detective Beckstrom, who confronted Megan in hopes to get answers, but nothing could have prepared him for her response.
We have investigators in the house right now. They found a second baby. Will you please tell me about that?
There's more. Hey, I'm sorry. I have hit every one of them, and he had to have known I was pregnant through most of them.
There's others? How many?
I'm not even sure. I was on so many drugs and stuff during it all, I can't even remember.
When?
All through the years.
Megan had a long history of drug abuse, particularly methamphetamine, and was known to drink heavily as well. These addictions had ruined her ability to make rational decisions, but they were no excuse for taking a life. Despite her claims it was clear she was still hiding something, a truth so gruesome which would shake everyone to the core.
And if it's easier for you to remember, if we want to start after you had your first child, when you had the first miscarriage.
One, right after I moved in, I can't even remember. I remember when I had in the tub. They were all stillborn. Every one of them.
Were they full term?
No, without me.
Okay, so how many do you think will we find in the garage?
4.
Did you put all 4 in the garage?
Yeah.
Did you keep them in the same place in the garage? What did you? Right
It's
there.
covered.
Okay, and so all 4 boxes are in the same place. Okay, well, I just want to be able to relay to the detectives what they're gonna find. And so all 4
Yes.
are in the cabinet in the garage.
Yes.
Why didn't you call for help?
I'm afraid of people know I'm pregnant.
I mean, this is Utah. It's not common for people to have a lot of kids.
Oh, because I was young. Because I was so young.
Several years later, though, when this happened, I mean, you're not so young.
I know. But like I said, the drugs, they mess with you. Bad.
So you're telling me that because you were on drugs, you weren't making good decisions?
Yeah, exactly.
Does it feel better to tell the truth?
Me personally, I don't think I would get pregnant.
Okay, just a minute.
After hearing that more bodies were hidden in the garage, Detective
Good to know.
Beckstrom quickly contacted the officers on the scene. Over 20 to 30 officers combed through every inch of the house, searching for hours. And while the investigation continued, so did the interrogation.
You know, we've talked about a lot. I don't know yet. We haven't made those decisions because we're doing the search warrant still. And because of the seriousness of this, they are also going to obtain a search warrant for your house in West Valley. Is there anything at that house that we need to know about before we go up there?
For me, no. All that's up there is my clothes.
Okay. So you have the babies been in the garage the whole time?
I never moved them or anything. But yeah, they've been in the garage the whole time.
So we're talking 8 years ago.
Yes.
I mean, you told me earlier that you put the boxes with the babies in them in the cabinet.
Yeah.
Did you ever take them out of that cabinet?
No.
I imagine in the last 9 years, stuff's been in and out of the
I
cabinet.
think so, because I was just there a month or so ago getting my bed and stuff out of there, and I seen it sitting there.
Right. And so did anyone in the world know that the baby was in the garage? Okay.
So,
Well, they're saying one of the boxes was on a stack of shelves next to the cabinet. Why would it be there?
unless I moved it or something, but it's not thinking.
Do you know when that might have been?
Before I left, I did. I mean, I haven't been in that house. Only once since I moved out.
It was painfully evident that this case was far from straightforward. While it wasn't unheard of for a woman to hide a pregnancy, but doing so multiple times raised serious doubts. The idea seemed almost impossible to believe, and as the detectives pieced things together, a chilling realization began to take shape.
I want to make sure that there's no more weight on your shoulders. Okay. When you have these babies,
Yes.
you said after they were born and they were blue and you try to get them to breathe, what would you do to try to get them to breathe?
Sometimes I was so scared, you know.
I don't know. I'm sorry.
Sorry, like shake them, sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Like that.
Did you have like the suction cup they used to clean out their mouths?
No, I just use my finger and stuff.
You described you had the one in the tub that you filled the tub and had.
Yeah, I can't. Yeah.
Was that baby alive when it was born?
I think it was. For a short time.
What happened?
Well, you think if I have baby in the house, it just cries, so you know.
Mm-hmm. Well, you say you think it was for a short time. What was it moving? Did it start to breathe?
No, it wasn't breathe. I could see a little heartbeat and then it stopped.
Okay. For about how long?
Not very long at all.
Okay. The one that you had when he was in prison, that you were on the toilet, was that one alive when it was born? Okay. Where were the other two born?
One on the bed and the other on the
Okay. The one on the bed when it was born.
Ability
Do you think it
talks.
might have been alive for a short time as well?
Are you?
Detective Beckstrom was left stunned when Megan finally admitted the unthinkable. It wasn't an accident, but actual murders. So now he asked her the final make-or-break question.
Did you kill the baby after it was born? What we need is the truth.
I did one of them.
Which one?
I can't remember. No, I was just so scared. I was so
Tired.
on drugs so bad.
How's it going for you? I'm also tired, but
How did you choke it?
doing okay. Almost done work.
Do you think all four of these babies
Good
were
at
alive when
least.
they were born?
I'm pretty sure one of them wasn't.
And did you choke the others?
Yes, I did.
And you put them in a towel, put them in garbage bags, and then put them in a box and put it in the garage.
Yes.
So one was dead when it was born, and the other three you choked. And why did you choke them?
I don't know. Scared. I was in shock.
Have you ever told anyone this?
No, I've never told a soul.
So when we run DNA tests, will they all be Darren's?
Yes, I will.
Is there anything else we need to know about?
No.
All right.
As the detective left the room, he could barely contain the emotions that overwhelmed him. It had been the hardest interrogation of his career.
Once I'm out of her sight, my hands went to my knees, and I had to take several breaths to really process. Holy, she had killed these babies.
Back at the crime scene, the officers had been searching the garage for over 3 hours, and the unease they felt couldn't be measured. No one could have predicted what other surprises lay in store for them.
This was probably one of the longest days in my career. It was emotionally straining, physically exhausting, and the feeling in the air was dread, but also determination to find out what in the hell
Were the
actually
babies her
happened.
babies? Yeah.
Eventually, we found baby number 3.
It didn't take long
They
before
were
the
all
officers found the
hers.
third body, packed
Also,
tightly
hello,
in a box
Barcado.
and sealed with layers of duct tape. When they carefully opened it, they found the body to be wrapped in a plastic bag and covered in vinyl. As their search continued, they uncovered a 4th body, followed by a 5th, hidden under 2 blankets and 2 bath tiles in the bottom left corner of a cubby. But just when they thought they had seen it all, the biggest shock was still about to come.
I'm told that there is a 5th baby found at the home. Now it's becoming almost exhausting. How many could there be? And what is going on?
Right, Megan, I'm really happy with how far you've come, but I'm concerned that you haven't told me everything. How many do you think there possibly could be?
Honestly, I don't know how many. 4 I can think of, but I don't.
Okay, they are up to 5. And so now that there's 5, are you still only certain that one of them was dead when it was born? And so the other 4 were alive?
There could be more. Like I said, I can't remember.
How many? I have no idea. They're saying that they found 5 bodies.
I'd say 8 or 9.
Oh my god. I think they're trying to figure that out right now. How
When they're
many?
done searching the garage, they are going to search the rest of the house. Will they find any more?
No.
Okay. So there could be 8 or 9.
Yeah, it could be. But I know there's no more than that. And I know there's none in the house.
Yeah, 8
I
or
mean,
9 is
there's no fear in
insane.
the
What the
house.
hell?
Right.
I think she has kids right now too, if I'm not mistaken.
It would just be out in the garage.
People said it was some smells, you know, like in the heat of the summer. We had cats and stuff, and you know, and I think it was always just blamed on that.
They would just leave it open.
Mm-hmm.
And you're saying Darren never knew?
No, and I told you, only me. I've kept this to myself for 18 years.
So I'm the only person that you've ever told?
Yes.
The numbers kept growing, but the officers knew they had to proceed with caution. The line of questioning soon shifted, as Detective Beckstrom began to consider Darren's possible involvement, due to something Megan had said earlier during the interrogation that had caught his attention.
When I talked to you earlier, you mentioned that Darren should have known. What do you mean by that? Did you tell her?
No. I don't know why. I think my mind was just so out of it, you know? All I focused on was the next fix. But how can you not know?
Okay, how much meth there is that woman?
Every night and not know that.
When we're talking about Darren knowing that you were pregnant because he's in your bed, those are miscarriages. And so did you just tell him that you miscarried?
Yeah.
Okay. And so when you told him that it was a miscarriage, he never asked what you did with the miscarriage? Okay.
It was hard to believe that Darren had simply stumbled upon the body in his garage without any clue where it could have come from. Could he have known more than he was letting on? Meanwhile, back at the crime scene, officers made another grim discovery: the 6th and 7th bodies wrapped in sweaters and stuffed into a box inside a cabinet. It was a moment that left everyone reeling, but they still pressed on to determine if there were more than 7. They even searched Megan's former home in West Valley, leaving no stone unturned. While they found no additional bodies, they did uncover Xanax, marijuana, and drug paraphernalia, painting a bleak picture of her life. Megan Huntsman was arrested and booked into the Utah County Jail on 6 counts of murder. However, the case was far from complete. Still, there were pieces of the puzzle that didn't quite fit, and to fill in the gaps, investigators brought Darren in for questioning.
I'm just having Dan extra much, so I'm trying to talk to everybody, make sure I know that it's been a horrible day for a lot of you. So you're not in trouble right now. I'm just trying to understand everything that's happened. So she's saying that baby was a miscarriage after he went in prison.
That's what she told me. Is that what she's still saying?
Yes. We did get a search warrant in the house, and there's more than one. And so, how many times was your wife pregnant?
I have 3 daughters, and I know one other time that she had a miscarriage. I never even knew she was pregnant with 2 of my daughters until she was like 4 or 5 months along. And then she told me, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, sir.
There's...
How many was it?
There
Was she
7.
okay after having so
You were
many
kidding me.
I'm not.
of them? Not in the hospital? I have no clue.
She said that the first one was shortly after you moved into the house.
Oh my God.
And that the last one, she was pregnant by you before you went to prison.
Wait, so she says they're all mine?
That's what she says. And that's why I'm glad you're here, because I would have thought that if she was pregnant 7 times in the 10-year period that you lived in that house, that surely you would have known.
Holy.
Darren was visibly shaken by the disturbing revelations. He buried his face in his hands and began to sob as the weight of the situation hit him hard. But despite his tears, there was more he needed to explain.
You said you knew that she was pregnant once. Are you talking about one other time than the miscarriage, or are you talking about something else?
That's the only time I know. I was so messed up on freaking drugs, and I don't know what was going on.
I can tell that you know about more than what you're telling me. Megan hid pregnancies from everybody until shortly before she had kids. But you're saying that she told you when she was 4 months along. I believe that you knew about these pregnancies?
I swear to God, I never knew about all these pregnancies.
But what's happened here is tragic. But I don't think that you killed these babies and hid them. I think that you were married to a woman who was going to do it her way, and then you were done fighting with her, and so you allowed her to make these decisions. Is that what happened?
I never would think that she would put babies in a box and freaking...
So what did you think she was doing with these pregnancies?
I didn't realize she was pregnant 7 freaking times.
I'm a married man. You know your wife's pregnant. And so she's telling me that the only one that you weren't around for is when you went to prison.
Honest to God, I didn't know that there were 7 babies in my garage.
I know.
I never knew there was one in there. Do you think I would have go out and clean the garage and then, you know what I mean?
I understand where you're coming from. I'm not saying you knew they were in the garage, but I'm saying you had to know that they were brought into the world.
Even though Darren claimed he had no idea about the pregnancies, the detective wasn't ready to accept it at face value.
Your wife has admitted to some crimes, to some horrible things. She admits that she killed some of them after they were born. Like I said, she's being completely honest.
But
and I really wish you were too.
what do you want me to say? I didn't know she was killing kids, and I didn't know she was put in boxes. I don't know how they do it. I don't know how she could give birth and then... I don't know.
Were you there when any of these were born?
No, sir. No, sir. I swear.
What we want to do is we want to do what's right. We want to have closure for these children. We want to have closure for your kids that are alive. For these babies' grandparents. I mean, these babies were in a garage for years.
I never knew that, no. I never knew that. I don't want to say nothing else. This is looking bad. I had no idea that she was killing kids and putting them in boxes. I swear to God.
Okay.
But I want an attorney, though. Wouldn't you?
I can't give you that advice. I'm not in your situation, and I don't think I ever will be.
No, you won't.
So. Okay. All right, hold on just a second. We'll get you upstairs in just a minute.
Although Darren seemed like a potential suspect in the case, there was no evidence to link him to the murders. Eventually, Darren requested an attorney, bringing the interrogation to an abrupt end. What worked in his favor was a simple but strong point. If he had known about the bodies in the garage, it was unlikely he would have started cleaning it so soon after his release from prison. Darren was released from custody, and the investigation moved forward with Megan still behind bars. All the evidence collected from the garage, including the boxes, plastic bags, and layers of duct tape, was sent to the lab for analysis, and the results were conclusive. Every single fingerprint belonged to Megan. Not a trace of Darren's prints was found on any of the items. With this, the focus shifted to the medical examiner, where DNA testing was conducted to confirm the father of the babies. The results were as expected. Darren was the biological father of all 7 children. However, one heartbreaking fact remained clear. During their entire 10 years of living together, and even after he went to prison in 2006, Darren had no idea he had fathered 7 children. Megan had hidden everything from him and everyone else. It was now time for the final decision.
Justice for 6 babies killed right after birth by their own mother as she pleads guilty to 6 counts of murder.
And the judge gave her the maximum sentence that could keep her locked up for the rest of her life.
On February 12, 2015, Megan was formally charged with 6 counts of first-degree murder. Having admitted to killing 6 of her children while claiming one was stillborn, she was sentenced to 6 terms of 5 years to life to be served consecutively, which meant she would spend the rest of her life in prison. The case left everyone involved deeply shaken. It was incomprehensible how a mother could commit such horrific acts. It also highlighted the devastating impact of drugs, which had completely destroyed Megan's mental health and led her down this dark and tragic path.
Megan had a family that she was raising.
Is it why?
But
I have
on the flip
no
side
clue.
of
I
that
don't
coin,
think so.
she also had 7 dead children in her garage that she had murdered. I don't know what her motive
Drugs?
was.
Oh,
I don't
true.
care
It's
what her
probably
motive was.
the drugs.
But
too.
the fact of the matter is she did it, and that was unfathomable to me.
What are your thoughts on this case? Was it just drugs which led to Megan killing her children, or were there some other dark motives? How did Darren not know anything about his wife's pregnancies after living together for 10 years? We'd love to hear from you. If there's a case you'd like us to cover, don't hesitate to drop your recommendations in the comments section below. Until next time, stay safe.
I may be just totally off my rocker, but I was just out walking my dog, and I came across some bones that looked to me to be human.
He had been dismembered.
Oh my God.
Okay, and I like I said, there was apparent saw marks. Okay.
What marks?
Saw.
Oh,
marks.
saw.
When a human spine is discovered by a
shit.
woman walking her dog in Mercer County in January 2016, it launches an investigation that will take years to unravel. Even with a bone-chilling confession, investigators are left questioning the truth behind their victim's unimaginably gruesome demise, and they will soon find themselves with another body on their hands before the case is over. The following report is based on official police records, and most of the footage has never been seen until now. Following the 911 call from the concerned dog walker, police discovered a skeletal human spine hidden among the frozen brush in a fairly remote area in Mercer County. Though they conducted a thorough search of the area, no other remains were found. This left investigators with 2 main questions. Who was their victim, and where were the missing body parts? Despite a DNA profile being uploaded to NamUs, a police database for missing persons cases, the identity of the victim remained unknown. That all changed in 2020, when a Bureau of Criminal Investigation agent working on cold cases connected the profile of a missing persons case in Columbus, Ohio, with the timeline of when the skeletal spine was discovered. 21-year-old Ryan Zimmerman was reported missing at the end of November 2015, just 2 months before the 911 call. Ryan had last been heard from a month prior in September. After contacting Ryan's parents and conducting a DNA test, investigators were able to confirm that the partial skeleton belonged to Ryan. They spoke to Ryan's father, Warren, over the phone.
Your son did. It was obvious that there was foul play involved. Okay.
Right.
There was some remains that we were not able to locate. Okay. So it was also discovered that he had been dismembered.
Oh my God.
Okay. And I like I said, I'm sorry to tell you that over the phone. We did not find portions of him being the lower portions of the legs, the lower portions of the arms, or the skull.
Oh my gosh. So, okay.
The location of Ryan's skull was like something out of a horror movie, but that wouldn't be revealed until much later. Even worse than discovering that Ryan had died were the details investigators shared with Warren about Ryan's remains.
There was apparent saw marks, okay?
What marks?
Saw
Oh,
marks.
saw. Right.
Yeah. When he was found, it was basically skeletal remains.
Man, what does it sound like? Gangland or some kind of sick trafficking or what the hell? I mean, who would do something like that?
Those are all questions that we are hoping to work to try to get some answers for Ryan and for your family, okay?
Police were able to track down the 3 people living with Ryan in Columbus before Ryan's disappearance: Corey Buzzard, Sarah Buzzard, and Naira Jen Whitaker. On August 25, 2021, officers had to find Sarah and Jen, who are now married. After moving out of the apartment they shared with Corey and Ryan, they now live at Sarah's mother's house. What will unfold shortly is a twisted and unpredictable case, one that is far more disturbing than anyone anticipated.
We've had several calls on this subject. Usually
It takes a few minutes, but eventually Sarah answers the door.
Hello, police department. Looking for Sarah.
That's me.
Come step out for me. All right, sorry I had to wake you.
No, sorry. Can I do for you?
Well, I think you got a warrant.
Warrant?
Uh-huh.
What?
It's out of Ohio, I think. It's a theft warrant, I believe.
Okay.
All right, so we have to take care of it. 002, I've got her out front. All right, so go ahead and turn around, put your hands behind your back for me.
Though he doesn't know it just yet, the officer asks Sarah a question that will foreshadow a devastating series of events.
I don't want to sound nervous, but do you have any weapons or anything in the house upstairs that I need to worry about? Just don't. I mean, I don't want them coming out with a gun or anything like that. A theft charge.
Sarah informs the officers that her mother and Jen are inside the home, and they soon join her on the porch.
Just a little bit. Okay, so what's going on?
Well, we got to take her downtown. I got to look at exactly what the warrant is for, and then we'll go from there. So I can. It's through Ohio, so they sent us over here. So others sent the warrant over here. We get them from out of state all the time.
You know what I mean? Girls and my daughter Zip, we never that kind of person. But if something missing over there, I mean just
Take some deep breaths, Sarah.
yeah, when she move it.
While the officer dances around their questions regarding Sarah's arrest, Sarah's disposition begins to take a turn.
You been sick?
We just woke up, sorry.
Okay. Have you been sick or?
No, just shocked.
Oh, okay.
Despite looking like she might pass out, it's decided that Sarah can travel to the police station.
Okay, I'm going to hold your arm so you don't fall over, okay?
Once at the police station and in an interrogation room, Sarah is told that detectives from Ohio want to speak with her.
Hi, Sarah. Hello. I'm Megan Baker. I'm with the Sheriff's Office in Ohio.
I'm Rick Ward.
Hello.
Hello, Sarah.
Well, I'm assuming you have lots of questions.
Yes,
Okay.
I do.
We're going to take some time to sit down with you here, and maybe we can get some answers for those questions for you, if that's okay.
Sarah has read her Miranda rights and agrees to speak with the detectives. They immediately dive into questioning, beginning with her time in Columbus almost 6 years ago. Sarah explains that she lived with her then-husband, Corey Buzzard. While married to Corey, Sarah had also started dating Jen, who was transgender. Eventually, as her relationship with Sarah progressed, Jen moved in with Corey and Sarah. A few months later, they got another roommate, someone named Emma.
And that's a little bit about why we're here, is talk about Emma, also known as Ryan Zimmerman. He went missing. Are you familiar with any of that? No. Okay, so I guess...
The looking person, they look familiar. Let me get their name, because I actually don't know.
According to Sarah and Jen, Ryan was newly transitioning, which is why they knew Ryan by the name Emma. However, this claim hasn't been substantiated or verified by any members of Ryan's family.
It's a little bit of a touchy subject.
They're called Mars.
My husband at the time had sexual
Which
interests.
is...
They had talked online.
I don't even know how to pronounce this. Jewel
He had
toast.
invited them to come stay with us, which I did not want to happen, but long story short, it did.
After Sarah and her partner Jen move into the house with her and Corey decided to meet someone and reached out to Ryan online. After speaking for a short period, Ryan moved into the Columbus apartment as well. At the same time that Sarah is in interrogation at Sarah's mother's house, Jen is also being approached by detectives. However, Jen is a little more hesitant to speak with them. What seems like it may be a simple conversation about Sarah's apparent arrest for theft will soon have a nightmarish outcome.
Please step outside.
Okay, we have a search warrant for the residence too. Okay, so we're not stepping outside. We're working a missing persons case from Ohio. The Ohio Attorney General's office has a task force with missing persons.
Okay.
And Ryan Zimmerman lived with you guys in Columbus in 2015, with you and Sarah and Corey, September 2015, right? And he's missing. And you guys were like the last people to see him.
After clarifying that Ryan also went by the name Emma, or M, Jen remembers briefly living with Ryan.
Creepy will be
The
creepy.
investigators will often switch between referring to Ryan as Ryan and as M or Emma. After only living with Corey, Sarah, and Jen for 2 months, Ryan was asked to leave. Sarah claims that Ryan and Corey's relationship ended, and Ryan never found a job, which was part of her agreement to allow Ryan to stay in the apartment. Because of this, Corey told Ryan to leave, and Ryan planned to leave on September 25th. This timeline correlates with the last time anyone heard from Ryan.
I know that they had tried to plead with me to give them another chance, but I said that I'd already given too many chances and that it was Corey's call ultimately. And I remember them packing, and either I went to the store or I was in a different room. I don't remember. I can't quite remember.
Who was all home at the time?
I was, Corey was not, and then my girlfriend was over, so we might have been in the living room. I honestly, I don't remember.
Okay.
I just know that 1 minute Emma was there, and then the next he had just left.
Okay. Did you see him leave? Like pull away in a vehicle or something?
Somebody pulled up and he got in the car and drove off. I thought that he might come back because he did leave his car, but he didn't come back, and then we didn't hear from him again.
There will eventually be troubling discrepancies in Sarah and Jen's stories. The detectives at Sarah's mother's house asked Jen a follow-up question about Ryan's vehicle.
What kind of car did he have? Did you ever ride in the car? You were never in his car? Okay.
Had you ever driven it?
Yes.
Okay. To the store or something, or when did you drive it?
To a gas station. I couldn't get it to start again, so I had to call a tow company to bring it back, but I was embarrassed about it because I didn't really have permission to drive it.
So did you drive it while he was still living there?
No, this was after he'd left.
Oh, okay. Were you by yourself during this?
My girlfriend was with me.
Unknowingly, Sarah has just unraveled one of the mysteries behind Ryan's disappearance. Warren, Ryan's father, had been alerted that something was wrong when Ryan's vehicle was found abandoned. Though the license plate was missing, police found some of Ryan's belongings inside the vehicle, along with the keys and a full tank of gas. Warren had taken it upon himself to knock on neighbors' doors to see if they remembered anything useful about the car or Ryan's disappearance. To his surprise, someone did. One of the neighbors said they saw the car get dropped off by a tow truck near the apartments where Ryan was staying with Corey, Sarah, and Jen.
And about a half hour later, the Columbus Police Department came and wrote the ticket up and had the vehicle towed. I'm thinking, why would somebody, it was like they wanted it to get picked up.
Sarah claimed that she thought the vehicle had vanished because Ryan had returned and took it. What she doesn't add, not yet at least, is that there's an unsettling reason she'd been using Ryan's vehicle that day. Before moving on, the detectives returned to the question of Ryan's behavior before leaving the apartment. Jen reluctantly gives the detectives some background information about the living situation before Ryan left, claiming Ryan was usually in the spare bedroom and was reclusive. Jen believed that Corey regretted asking Ryan to move in with them.
It was kind of weird.
I guess how weird? Like, was she just kind of clingy?
That's the thing too. No, Em was so. Okay, I have pretty bad social anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
But Em seemed to have way worse social anxiety.
Okay. And how was M's behavior then?
Excessively shy.
Okay.
Jen also explains the reason for some of the tension with Ryan.
Sorry, it's just the anxiety.
Sure.
I don't like to admit that I am trans, but it was just weird. Corey brought another trans person into the house because that's what they wanted. They had I shouldn't use gender neutral for Corey because that's confusing. Corey had papers written up about, I forget what he calls it, like the trifecta or perfect relationship, but it involved one man, one woman, and a trans woman.
Okay.
And I didn't want any part of that.
Sure.
I'm assuming that's why they brought M in.
I think Ryan was just kind of the last straw for me.
Tell me more about that. Why was he the last straw?
That was probably one of the biggest arguments that we had, to make him that third person. But I obviously didn't agree with that, and the entire time it made me feel like I wasn't good enough.
After Ryan apparently moved out of the apartment, Sarah and Corey divorced, and she married Jen soon after. The detectives take a break, and when they return, they will confront Sarah with the awful truth of why they are really there.
Hey, there's some more water. Sarah, I don't know if you know this or not, probably not, but you're talking to Jennifer right now, talking to your mom, and also talking to Corey. And there's major inconsistencies about this with your involvement with Ryan. And you know Ryan is now deceased.
He is?
He's been murdered. So we have Corey is talking to the Columbus police detectives right now. We just get off the phone with them.
The detective isn't being entirely honest here. While officers have managed to track down Corey's new residence, Corey is proving less than enthusiastic about the prospect of speaking with officers.
You're not in any trouble. I don't have an arrest warrant, nothing like that, Corey. Okay, we just want to talk with you because your name was brought up as a witness in a case I'm working. A homicide.
Homicide?
A homicide.
I don't recall witnessing any homicides.
Okay, we're just wanting to talk. That's it. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
That's it. I haven't lied to you at all, Corey. Okay? It's about Ryan.
I don't know who Ryan is.
Ryan lived with you for a while. Emma? He also went by Emma.
Okay.
He was a roommate for a while.
Okay.
Okay, that's what we're here to talk to you about.
Not without counsel.
Okay, do you have an attorney on hand?
Yes.
Okay, do you think they would meet us down there?
Can we make an appointment?
I'd rather get this done today.
I don't really think I have to work on your time.
While the officers speaking with
God
Corey
damn.
once again hit a dead end, those with Sarah begin to lay out some of the evidence.
I mean, this is a bad situation. We really need to know what happened. With the car, we have DNA evidence. We're able to track down your car, the one that you used to own, the time of this incident. We were able to track down the current owner, and we're able to examine it. So we have major.
All they assume
something
she used their
happened,
head in one of these
in that
videos.
apartment the weekend that you dropped.
Might be
off
on
with
one
that
of these
girl
videos for
in
the
Columbus.
pipe bomb I send
The
you.
evidence the detective
That's
is referring
crazy.
to
Your
were
chat
rare
logs are
stains
gonna be
discovered on the carpet liner of
evidence.
Sarah's vehicle. Though she'd sold it, they found the new owners in July 2021 and conducted tests inside the trunk. The stains produced presumptive positive results for suspected blood. Earlier, Sarah had claimed that Corey hadn't been home the weekend Ryan moved out because Corey was with another woman. In fact, Sarah had been the one to drive Corey and the woman to a hotel. Investigators spoke with the woman and confirmed that Corey was nowhere near the apartment where Ryan was last seen. While Corey may still prove to be an important witness to the events leading to Ryan's death, Sarah and Jen appear to be the last known people to see Ryan.
So please just tell me the truth, what happened. Corey's given a whole nother version of what you just said. Please tell me the truth.
I'm not comfortable talking about this.
We have a young.
Was it an accident?
Yeah,
I don't know what was an accident.
with Ryan.
I didn't even know that he was dead.
Sarah, come on.
Is
Sarah,
there
please.
someone that I can talk to?
Well, you can talk to us. I just want the truth.
The other officers also confront Jen with the news of Ryan's death.
We're trying to find Emma, and we were somewhat successful in that.
Okay. Wait, what? Somewhat.
Mm-hmm.
What leads?
That's we need you to fill in the gaps, because whatever happened to Emma happened in the apartment.
This mini president.
And we've recovered evidence from the apartment. We recovered evidence from Sarah's car.
Right.
Blood.
Wait, whoa, what?
Mm-hmm. Blood from the trunk of the car. Blood from the apartment by the bathtub, where in part of Emma's body was discovered it was dismembered.
Even though they'd all moved out by early 2016, investigators were able to access the apartment where Sarah, Jen, Corey, and Ryan had once lived. In July 2021, a month before they spoke with Jen and Sarah, authorities visited the apartment and asked the current residents to leave while they conducted tests throughout the building. Under close examination, several areas in the
I'm
bathroom
gonna
reacted
be really
to a
quick.
chemical
I'll leave
reagent
the video
indicating latent
going.
blood residue, including the bathroom floor and the cabinet.
No way. No way she had anything to do with any of that.
She did.
No, there's no way.
Tell me why. The Google searches, the deep dives that we did, the stuff that she was into at least, right? Painting with blood, like into drinking the blood, and then the searches that she did on her Android phone.
I don't know. I don't know about any of the blood stuff.
While this comment about painting with blood will be explained eventually, investigators won't have the chance to ask Sarah about it just yet, because she immediately throws a wrench into their plans.
Sarah Lloyd Dragon talked to. That wasn't my rights, right?
Well, that's your decision. We don't advise on that. But all we're asking is for the truth.
I don't know what to say.
The truth, maybe?
I've said what I remember.
And you're telling me that's the truth.
That's what I remember.
This is going to be your only time to talk to me and Megan. After this, we're not allowed to help. So.
What happens to me after this?
You're going to be booked in the local county jail here. I mean, we wouldn't be doing this if we didn't have physical evidence. That's why I was giving you an opportunity. Okay. All right, Sarah. Thank you.
Once again, the detectives leave Sarah alone. In contrast, those speaking with Jen lay on the pressure.
This is a fever dream.
I'm sorry?
This is a fever dream.
I know this feels like a nightmare now, so we need you to fill in the other parts of this thing, because this isn't a nightmare.
Emma's dead.
Emma's dead?
Emma's dead.
Corey's dead?
No.
No, Emma's dead.
Okay.
Did Corey have you guys get rid of his issue? He ain't like Emma coming up. Emma's not what he expected. The selfies didn't show what Corey had wanted. Comes up, Emma's completely shy, reclusive, nothing what Corey expected. Corey went away for the weekend for you and Sarah to get rid of his problem. Corey and Sarah were fighting a lot over it. Let's just get rid of the problem.
There's no way.
So what happened?
There's no way.
It isn't long before the detectives decide to once again try speaking with Sarah, and this time they will hear a stomach-churning confession.
So,
Megan here has something
I
she
just
wants to
have
show
something
you.
I want you to take a look at, okay? And read over, and we'll get your thoughts on that. This is from your Google account. Okay, these are your searches on your Google account that you said you only had access to. So flip through these pages.
Yeah, look through them for
and
us.
take a gander at that.
After seeing the evidence within her own search history, showing that she looked up how to start Ryan's car after it broke down, Sarah begins to unravel.
What's gonna happen to my family? Well, we'll talk to your family, okay? And you'll get to talk to your family, okay? We can work through this. One thing at a time. This is the first step. Okay, look at me. I'm scared. Okay, I understand you're scared. Okay? All I've ever gotten was a speeding ticket. And you're an honest person. Okay, I don't think you're a bad person at all.
Sarah, let us help you.
Go ahead and start from the beginning, okay? It was an accident. Okay, it was an accident. Accidents happen every day. So what happened? I was angry.
Okay, I get angry too.
And I knocked him down when he came out of the bathroom. And I choked him. And then I didn't know what to do. I've never done anything like that. And I got scared. I didn't know what to do.
You were scared.
I realized I ruined my life.
While the detectives speaking with Sarah have finally made some headway, those with Jen are hitting roadblock after roadblock.
I'll be honest with you. I think it's been eating you up. Is it eating Sarah up? I mean, people can have differences with people, right? But to this extent, you know, it would eat somebody up, literally. I mean, you would be not sleeping well, not functioning well. You know, it's a lot, right?
No, that's a lot.
Yeah, it is.
But no, I wasn't aware of that. I've been living fine.
Okay, so maybe
things were fine.
Things are fine until Emma came along, and then things weren't fine.
No, if you want to go back to that, no. But even then, no. But no, things have been fine. There was no murder weighing on us.
While Jen continues denying any knowledge, Sarah is telling a very different story.
I put him in a chokehold and knocked him down.
Did he pass out? Were there words exchanged?
He passed out.
Okay.
And I didn't let go.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was too late. He stopped moving. He started turning white. And I couldn't go near him.
Though this is the first
Okay,
time Sarah
I'm
has
back.
shared
I
what
had to go
happened
find
Ryan,
something
this
because
is
it got
only one
misplaced.
version of the story, and with each retelling, the details only grow more and more unsettling.
Oh,
Sarah
hi,
claims that Jen
Alison.
heard the commotion from downstairs and came up to see what had happened.
Hola, thank you.
Mm-hmm. So what happened?
And I cut it up.
So what did I miss? I feel like I missed a
Between
lot.
you and Jen? Was this when Corey was away at the hotel? Okay. So where did you cut him up at? Bathtub. What did you use?
Some kind of salt.
Where did that come from?
I found it
You
in
guilty?
the shed.
Like how many
You
of
have your own
them?
shed there. Okay. Who did the cutting?
Oh, thank you for the Prime
Jen, on the other hand,
detox. Thank
refuses to
you.
make any concessions.
I just don't remember.
Yeah, you do.
No, I don't.
Here's the thing. You're going to remember these things.
Yeah, I would probably remember if there was...
Are they all guilty, all of them, that they talked to so far?
And where did you cut him at? Again, this is all stuff I already know. Okay, I just need to hear it straight from you.
The joints.
The joints? Can you point to I guess what you mean by joints? The elbows.
The wrists, ankles,
Mm-hmm.
knees.
And then up here? And the neck. Okay. Does Jen help cut him up?
Not really. She wasn't feeling well. She got
I haven't said about the rest, just the main person talking about the choppy chop
But did
is
she help a little bit at the beginning? Okay.
We were both really scared.
One of the officers in Jen's interview steps out of the room to take a call, and when they return, they have news that will flip Jen's denials upside down.
Got an update. Sarah just admitted everything, and you helped dismember the body. She admitted to all of it.
Okay.
So fill us in with what's going on, right? With the car, you're going to remember everything. So at this point, Sarah, spilling the beans on the whole kit and caboodle.
Okay.
Okay, this is what we told you before. We knew where we were at. So this amnesia that you have isn't going to work because now you're implicated.
Wait,
in
this
as
person
well.
claimed that they have amnesia?
Then fill it in. Fill it in.
I didn't do that.
I just got the phone call from the analyst that's listening in on the interview, and she's coming clean, right? They're watching it live.
Okay.
She's coming clean, and you helped dismember the body with her. Yeah.
Sarah's not going to be able to do this by herself.
Yeah.
And if she said that, then she's lying.
You just said before Sarah wouldn't lie. She's not lying.
I didn't say she wouldn't.
So who's lying here? It's not Sarah.
It is definitely Sarah. If she said that whole... Yeah, I would remember that.
Just to the point because you're being implicated now. So now it's a lie.
No, just waiting for my commissioners to confirm these ones.
Where did you guys go then with the body? All right, let's get to this part here. Where did you go with the body after it's dismembered? And don't say you don't know. Because
I don't have to say I don't know for that because we didn't do that.
Luckily for investigators, Sarah is giving them all the answers. This, however, is only her first confession, and she will eventually share another that changes everything.
So, you got him cut up, then what happens?
I know what to work on. There's so much stuff to work on. Oh my god.
So where did you say
Stressed
put his
out.
belongings? Where did those go? Like his clothes and his...
Just in one of the bags.
Okay, and where did those...
We put those in a bin.
Like a dumpster?
No, like...
What?
Like a Tupperware bin.
Oh, okay. And where did that go?
In the back of his...
Why don't you work on some sleep? That's crazy.
We're going to drive the car somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And leave it. But the car wouldn't start.
This is the real story
So
about
true,
the tow
though.
truck.
I really do need
According
some
to
sleep.
Sarah, she and Jen planned to dispose of Ryan's dismembered body parts, which they loaded into the back of Ryan's own car. While their plan had been to abandon the car in a deserted location in Illinois before taking a Greyhound bus back, Ryan's car refused to start after they stopped at a gas station. This incident has a horrific new implication. Ryan's remains were still in the back of the car when the vehicle was towed, and Sarah and Jen then had to move the Tupperware bin full of his dismembered body parts in broad daylight into Sarah's car. They left Ryan's vehicle in the street, where the police eventually towed it away.
We started driving and trying to get rid of little things at a time.
Along the road, or is there special spots?
In public dumpsters.
So did you dispose of like his limbs in different spots? Okay. Do you know where those spots are?
We just stopped wherever something looked okay.
Where it seemed like secluded or something like that?
Like couple gas stations. Mostly just public dumpsters. I really don't know.
While Sarah doesn't clarify, they only disposed of Ryan's torso and belongings. The rest of his limbs and head had a different, even more alarming destination.
Here's the thing. You have been holding back this whole time with all of this stuff because I don't think you thought Sarah was going to be honest about it, but she is.
Oh, okay.
So let's do the right thing. And you wanted to do the right thing, right? So tell us about that.
About
please.
What?
About the dismembering it and then where you went from there.
I didn't dismember anybody.
You did.
No, I did not. That's fucking insane.
It's not insane.
That's insane.
This happens all the time. I mean, you may not want to admit to doing it, right? But this stuff happens all the time.
So where was Corey during this?
No idea.
No idea. Still at the hotel, possibly?
I guess so.
Okay. Any communication with him?
I shut off my phone.
Okay.
Why did you shut off your phone?
I was scared.
Did he know something had happened?
I don't think so. And I told him Ryan just left. And he didn't ask any questions.
Despite several attempts to get Corey to speak with police, Corey steadfastly refused.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Okay, so you don't know Ryan?
I don't.
You don't know Ryan? He didn't live with you at all?
I'm not going to talk to you without an attorney present.
We're talking with Sarah and Jen.
Okay.
Everybody involved that weekend, we're talking to right now, except you right now, because right now you kind of look like the bad guy if you don't want to talk to us. Everybody else wants to talk to us. That doesn't look good for you.
Yeah, they told me that you would say that, but
Who would say that?
My attorney.
Okay.
Corey refuses to speak any further and ultimately never comes in to discuss Ryan's case with officers. Without Corey's help, detectives will have to put more pressure on the people who are talking to them. Sarah and Jen. One thing still isn't clear: a motive.
Why were you so angry at him? What happened that you came up behind him and started choking
He
him?
ruined my life.
Tell me a little bit about that.
I mean, I told you the arguments Corey and I had, and I couldn't make him see reason.
The officers talking to Jen also try to understand a motive.
You would do whatever you could to make Sarah happy. So let's get rid of M, because that would make Sarah happy, right? To get her out of that household.
Sure, but they agreed to leave.
But she wasn't. Not willingly. Not fast enough.
She agreed to leave.
Without meaning to, Jen points out a glaring issue with Sarah's current confession. If Ryan had agreed to leave, why didn't she simply let that happen? This exact question will be central to the story Sarah tells later.
Did Jen know that this was going to happen? No.
But she was there for me.
Sure, she's your support. You said that. That's what support people do. They're there for you.
I'm worried about what's going to happen to her.
I don't want to understand that.
We
It's only
understand,
natural.
and we appreciate you talking to us openly.
The detectives have no reason to assume that Sarah means anything more than simply worrying about Jen, but her concern hints at a disastrous turn of events soon to come.
So what happened? You got him? Something happened to Emma, and you put him in the tub, and you guys did your thing. Fill us in on that, please.
That didn't happen.
She's filling in the gaps where you...
I'm gonna BRB again so I can get food.
Are not filling the gaps, though we know that you know what happened, right? Because it's written all over you. I mean, as soon as you get to a hot point, you minimize and you kind of look down. It's like a kid with a parent. I don't want to look and acknowledge that I'm lying to you.
Surprise, I have anxiety.
So when you started dismembering it, right? So what happened from there?
Not right.
So Sarah started. Was Sarah dismembering at this point in time?
No.
You were just holding on to the limbs, you're keeping a lookout.
No.
What are you doing?
No.
She's not cutting this body up herself.
That's probably because she didn't cut up a body.
She just admitted to.
No, she didn't.
She did.
Yes, she did.
The detectives attempt a different approach to get Jen to talk.
It's more beneficial to go, this is where it is. And it shows that you're wanting to make things right. You want to get things better, and you're showing remorse. Because the judge,
I'm
back in our county...
remorse because I don't know how to process this. And I'm not showing remorse. There is no remorse to be had.
So disposing of a body, you shouldn't show remorse for that?
Of course you should. Yeah.
You're still in shock that Sarah has come clean with everything, right?
There's no way she did this.
And your world's crashing down, and we're just trying to help you figure a way to make it a little softer of a crash.
Even though Jen refuses to believe Sarah admitted to the death and dismemberment of Ryan, Sarah's own interview is already wrapping up.
I just don't know what to do because I thought I had my whole life ahead of me. And I made one mistake.
And that's exactly
now it's over. Don't cut yourself short. I just turned 30 and I feel like that's
one step at a time. Okay? 1 foot in front of the other at a time here.
Continuing to show an unsettling lack of concern for Ryan, Sarah then makes an inquiry.
Is there any kind of bail, or am I going to have to stay there the whole time?
There's not bail right now, but that's not to say that there won't be bail in the future. Okay? Just not right at the present time.
Sarah is informed that the charges against her include tampering with evidence, grand theft of a motor vehicle, abuse of a corpse, and gross abuse of a corpse.
I'm back.
Okay, I appreciate you being honest.
I have potatoes, rice, and vegetables.
Just the kind of person you are.
Thank you, Sarah.
I hope it doesn't.
We'll give you a few moments, okay?
One of the officers who had been interviewing Sarah heads over to Sarah's mom's house in order to take a crack at Jen and see if he can break through the unrelenting denials. This is where everything goes horribly wrong.
Where are they?
Though the video footage is
Potato.
redacted, Jen is introduced
Does
to the
potato
detective who
have
spoke
like
with Sarah and is then
protein?
read
Like the
Miranda
smallest
rights.
amount? Probably not.
Okay, well, we have some things we need to talk to you about. But you're not saying yes.
Mushroom.
Well, because it all depends on you. So we're going based on physical evidence and now what Sarah told us.
I don't even have the mushroom.
I'm doing my job.
There's soup. I'm too lazy to get a bowl of soup.
I'm sorry, I don't want to
put words in your mouth.
No, but go ahead.
They said that she said she she was involved.
Absolutely. 100%. And this interview is being recorded.
Okay.
And I cannot lie about that.
Stop rotting. I'm not.
She absolutely
Still
said she was
alive,
involved,
clearly.
and she gave details, and you were involved in those details. I mean, I'm not making this shit up.
I don't know how I was involved.
The photo doesn't look
She
good,
told us how
though.
you were involved, but I don't want to go into those details because if you tell me and something's different, I have to go back and talk to her and try to iron out the inconsistencies.
Hearing that the detective isn't lying about Sarah's confession seems to be a turning point for Jen, but not in the way they hope.
I don't remember any of that. I don't know why Sarah would say that.
You're just surprised Sarah said it.
Of course I am.
Right, because she'd gotten away from this whole claim until today.
After hours of conversation, the new
Filters.
detective points out something that the others have failed to notice. While speaking with the officers, a purse has remained on Jen's lap.
What's in your purse?
Comfortable and calm.
After Jen explains, they quickly move on and continue questioning, this time about the evidence they've uncovered, a choice that will likely haunt the detectives for the rest of their careers.
And we found large quantities of blood in the trunk from Emma. That's a clue. We call them police work. You know, I'm not trying to be facetious, but that's called a clue. You know, so I mean, when we put two and two together, and then we talk to Sarah, and it all kind of matches up. You know what I mean? It all matches up.
What's going to happen to her?
Well, I don't know. It all depends on what you tell me.
To my knowledge, she didn't do anything.
But I'd be more worried about yourself right now.
Why?
Because of what she's telling us and the physical evidence.
Always be asking about their
and the social media search warrants that we did.
There's a very good reason Jen isn't worried. And once again, the purse comes up.
You don't have any like weapons in there, do you?
I'll get some mushrooms
within your purse?
later.
So, Jen, like we talked about, you asked if you were under arrest. You are going to be placed into custody. I want to, before this gentleman, he's a detective with the City of Marion Police Department. You're going to be booked into their...
Oh, what?
Central 055. 055. I need an ambulance, shots fired.
Oh.
How long has your hand been in that?
What just happened?
055 9512. Need you to respond to the scene.
I feel like it just escalated so quick.
Affirmative.
None of ours, right? We didn't return anything.
Negative. No officer involved.
Just as officers began their arrest, Jen pulled a small handgun out of the purse and fired. Jen was pronounced dead at the scene from a single bullet wound to the back of the head. While this is happening back at the police station, Sarah is led away in handcuffs. Unbeknownst to her, Jen has just died.
Stand up, turn around, and put your handcuffs, okay?
Am I able to use the restroom again before?
Well, right, when we get over to the jail, I'll let you use the restroom over there, okay?
Months after her arrest and Jen's death, Sarah is brought in to share an entirely new version of Ryan's death.
Good morning. How are you doing, Sarah? Feel free to have a seat. People here. We didn't want to be rude drinking our coffee in front of you, so we've got you one. Feel free to
Thank you so much.
to have it if you like. If you don't like coffee, then
I haven't had coffee for so long.
it's a specialty. It's a Cinnabon, so it's on.
Cinnamon
After a few more pleasantries, the investigators
that.
clarify with Sarah that her lawyers agreed she can speak with them, and they read her Miranda rights. They immediately begin by discussing Sarah's new confession. In this discussion, she refers to Jen by the name Naira.
On the morning of the 26th, Naira started voicing some plan about killing him, and I did not take her seriously because she...
Thank you for the
would make
hydrate,
comments like that
Ducky.
sometimes. I still didn't take her seriously, but I was starting to get worried because of how intricate it was getting. And then when she started gathering tools like trash bags, bleach, the handsaw from the shed, I realized she was serious. So I tried to talk her out of it, calmly at first, and then I started getting a little hysterical. And she told me that if I didn't help, that she was going to do it anyway. And usually at this point, the attorneys ask me, well, why did you do it? Why didn't you call the police? Why didn't you kick her out? And it was because I loved her. I was so scared and horrified, but there wasn't, like, I didn't stop. I didn't stop her. I didn't.
What was the problem then?
Yeah. She had a rag that she dipped in bleach, and she had a bottle of vinegar next to her to add to it when the time came, because I guess they had some kind of chemical reaction and released some kind of poisonous gas. I don't really know, but she did the research for it.
Though Sarah has significantly shifted the roles that she and Jen play in the planning and execution of Ryan's death, she still tells detectives that she jumped on him when he came out of the bathroom before Jen then held the rag over Ryan's mouth. The changes in her story only become more apparent as the details grow even more brutal.
When he started making these guttural gasping noises, Naira let me get out from under him, and I curled up in the office and cried. So I stayed in the office for a while until she did get him in the bathtub, and she had put a trash bag over his head and severed it, and then put that into the freezer so that she could deal with it later.
Since her arrest, investigators have discovered chilling evidence about the fate of Ryan's decapitated head, something they'll bring up shortly. In this retelling, rather than Jen being the one to dispose of Ryan's clothing, it was Sarah who took on this job. However, this doesn't mean she didn't help with the dismemberment.
She started to get intestinal cramps, so she went to lie down and said I had to take over. So I put the hands in one bag, or no, the hands and the feet she told me to put in a bag, and then she also put it in the freezer for later because she said those would be the two big identifying factors.
Would you murder
and
for
she'd
your
have to deal with
partner?
them separately. So I removed the forearms and the calves at the joints. It was slow, exhausting work, and I did not work fast enough. Her original idea was to cut up everything into as small of manageable pieces as possible and then dispose of them that way, but we didn't have enough time to do that, so we just had the head, hands and feet, the forearms went in one bag, the calves went in another bag, and then we just had to deal with the torso.
After this, the story remained the same. They loaded Ryan's dismembered
I
body
have no
into a
idea. I
Tupperware
was
container
gone for
and
like
attempted
half
to
of
use
it, so
Ryan's
I don't know
vehicle
why
until
they did
eventually had
it.
to call a tow truck. The difference this time, apparently Jen was the one telling Sarah where to go as they drove towards Illinois, stopping randomly to dispose of Ryan's remains, including the area where Ryan's torso was eventually discovered in Mercer County, 2 hours from Columbus. The fate of Ryan's head was an entirely different story. Investigators eventually searched the garage at Sarah's mom's house, where they found several boxes filled with what appeared to be human remains. This included a pot filled with a thick substance hidden within layers of
They just
plastic
kept
garbage
fighting?
bags. After the pot was emptied, investigators
Just
recovered a
personal
human
issues?
skull. In this version of her story, Sarah claims it was Jen who disposed of the remaining limbs.
But also because she didn't know the best way to dispose of it yet. So we had to carry, so she put it in the soup bin, put that in a bag, or several bags, put the pieces of the hands and feet also in the bag, and then kept bagging it up, and we put it in the shed for the time being. And every time we moved, it would have to come with us. So that was a weight that I had to drag with me everywhere I went. For a long time, we would check the news constantly. That's when we found out that the torso was discovered. But as time went on and we didn't see any new news, we started planning for a future instead. And we had done we made a pact that should something go wrong or we get discovered, that she was going to shoot me first, as she said she would rather die than spend her life in prison. The arrest came, and when I said goodbye to her, I could see it in her face that she knew.
This confession sheds an entirely new light on the footage of Jen and Sarah saying goodbye when she was arrested.
You want to tell your wife bye or anything?
Okay. You had mentioned the bleach and vinegar on the ring.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then mentioned something different was put into the pot?
Lye, some kind of lye mixture.
Okay. And is that something you would have had on hand, or did she go out and purchase?
That she did purchase. The head in the freezer didn't draw any attention because she had packed like vegetables and stuff in front of it, so it didn't look like it was anything.
This is a horrifying detail. While Corey was still living in the house, Ryan's decapitated head was in the home, hidden just out of sight behind some frozen vegetables. The detectives take a quick break before returning to clarify a few more details, including the comment investigators initially made to Jen during her interview about Sarah painting with blood.
So art for me is a coping mechanism.
Today's my birthday. Happy birthday.
Randy and Eric had mentioned
I'm
that
home
there
aside
was
from my
two
spouse
pieces in
within
particular
reason.
that gave people red flags. One was a painting of a sheep with that was done in blood, or some of it. That piece I had done prior to ever knowing about Ryan. That was a coping mechanism for everything that I'd been through with Corey.
Sarah posted this drawing to her illustration Facebook page in June 2015, titling it Sacrificial Lamb. Though she created it a few months before meeting Ryan, it eerily depicted the lamb dismembered and decapitated.
The other one was
For a good reason, maybe?
Holding a human head, and I know that people thought, or at least I heard, that this was like showing like, look what I did.
What Sarah doesn't mention is that she titled this drawing, Till Death Do Us Part.
But that was also a coping mechanism, having to drag that around with me everywhere we moved.
During the interview, Sarah also doodled a quick drawing of the saw they used to dismember Ryan. The elusive motive still needs to be clarified, and so detectives ask the haunting question of why Sarah and Jen didn't simply let Ryan leave the apartment as planned.
Hi, Alan.
And the thing she said was along the lines of, someone like that doesn't deserve to be out in the world to ruin someone else's life. So I think in some perverse way it was her idea that I don't want to go so far as to say she was dealing out justice, but she just felt very strongly that he didn't deserve to be out there. She said that if you want to transition, your goal is to just fit in, and that's what she tried to do. She didn't point out anything. She tried to be as feminine as possible because that's what she wanted to be, was a woman. And so with people like Ryan, who say that they're transitioning but are not really making the effort, really bothered her. She more commonly said things like, he's a disgusting human being, or the world would be better off without him. So that's why the fact that Ryan wanted to but still looked and acted male just really got under her skin.
With this allegation in mind, investigators question why Sarah confessed to the crime initially.
You said you were trying to protect Jen. I guess, why try to protect her at that point in time?
Yeah, that's what I thought about in hindsight. it would have devastated me to have to throw her under the bus and say, well, she was the one who did it. I guess there was a small part of me that thought if I took the fall for her, she would be okay. But thinking back now, I should have known with the look on her face that there was no point trying to protect her. She was going to do it anyway with me or
I'm gonna head
without
out
me.
now, everyone.
As
Thank
the
you for
interview
stopping by.
wraps up,
Have a
Sarah
good one.
clarifies why she wanted to speak with the investigators again.
I don't know if
I'm
the
gonna end
prosecution
after this
knows
video. I'm
how
just
much
gonna eat.
detail about Naira. So I'm basically just hoping that at the sentencing, essentially the same thing that I told both of you, just condensed a little bit, we'll be able to go on the record so that my side of the story and what actually happened will be out.
In the end, Sarah's new version of Ryan's death did little to change her fate. In January 2022, Sarah Buzzard pled guilty and appeared in Mercer County Common Pleas Court for sentencing. She was sentenced to life in prison with the possibility of parole after 30 years. Warren, Ryan's father, had the last word.
I just know now that, no one can hurt him anymore, and no one can hurt him now.
Okay, I'm gonna end. Thanks for coming, guys. Goodbye. I barely did any work, but that's okay. Oh, hi, fake Skip. Goodbye, fake Skip. Maybe be on tomorrow. I'll have to see how much work I have. But maybe. Our Fridays are free from meetings, so that's pretty good. Alright, goodbye.